Chapter 333. As soon as he heard Alex's words, Harold, who was kneeling on the ground, was already frightened to death. He cried out as he hurriedly said, "Grandma, hurry up and tell them the truth. Please tell Alex the truth now. If you don't, I will truly lose my life, Grandma." Harold's father was also afraid that they would be facing a lot of trouble. Therefore, he hurriedly pleaded, "Mom, just tell them the truth now." Lady Richard had already given up struggling at this time, and she sighed like a rooster who had already been defeated in a fight before saying, "Alex is right. The reason why I am here today is just that I was planning to trick all of you into moving back to the Richard family villa. My main purpose in doing that was just because I wanted to manipulate and trick Emma into going back to work for the Richard Group." Then, Lady Richard tried to push the blame away from herself as she blurted out, "But Alex interrupted her before she could finish her sentence. "But nothing. Since you have already explained your true purpose for coming here today, you can leave now." Lady Richard looked at Alex bitterly before she said, "Alex, you have to let me finish talking. I have my reasons for doing what I did." Alex replied coldly, "You are only facing all these hardships because you asked for it. You brought them upon yourself and you have no one else to blame but yourself." After that, Alex continued speaking, "If you know what is best for you, you will just keep your mouth shut and get out of this ward before anything else happens. If you leave right now, I can also pretend that this incident never happened. Otherwise." At this point, Alex gave his order to Don Stephen, who was still waiting on the other end of the line. "Stephen, if you hear an old lady trying to talk back at me again, I want you to immediately give an order to your men to hunt Harold Father Richard and Harold Richard down." Don Stephen responded immediately, "Mr. Anderson, don't worry. I will surely carry out your instructions." Lady Richard was utterly defeated, and she nodded to herself as she accepted her failure. Then, she raised her hand as she beckoned the rest of them and said weakly, "Let's go." Harold Father, Harold, and Olivia, who had already been silent for a long time, quickly helped Lady Richard up to her feet before they left the ward. After they had left, Trump let out a long sigh before he said in a depressed voice, "I honestly thought that my mother had finally realized her mistakes and turned over a new leaf. Who would have known that it was all just part of her plan?" Meanwhile, Elaine was lamenting, "If the Richard Group collapses, we will lose our pensions." Emma looked at Alex before smiling and saying, "Alex, thank you so much for what you have done for me. If it weren't because of your reminder, I would have been fooled, and I would have stepped right into their trap again." Alex smiled before he said, "Emma, I am your husband. Why are you so polite to me?" Then, Alex continued speaking, "For the next few days, we need to let Dad rest well in the hospital. I will take care of him. Emma, you can focus on building up your new company so that the Richard family will not have the opportunity to look down on you." Emma nodded before she said seriously, "I know. I will certainly go all out this time." When Lady Richard returned home, she was in a trance and felt as though she was about to collapse. Not too long ago, she had just hosted a big banquet in the hotel because the Richard Group had successfully signed a huge contract with Diamond Group. Yet, in the blink of an eye, the Richard family were now treated as outcasts and were going bankrupt. The Diamond Group had decided to cease all partnerships and collaborations with them, and they had also blacklisted the Richard Group. Now, the Richard Group had lost many other partnerships with other companies, losing all of its revenue. At the same time, the company was also facing a large amount of capital expenditure. For instance, they had to pay for the rental of the office building, the salaries of all their employees, the construction costs for all of their projects.